Okay, so I just wanted to give you a walkthrough of how I grade assessments that have short answers or maybe a little bit more open-ended questions using Flubaroo instead of setting up a Google quiz. So this is my example form. And what I would do is go to responses, and then I'm going to open the spreadsheet. I've already created the spreadsheet for this one, so I'm just going to click over here. And I have already input my sample responses. So what you would do to put in your answer key is you're just going to take your quiz. So you're going to click this little preview, and it will open it up for you. And you would just take it like you were a student, and you're going to answer all of the correct answers. The only difference that I do is that where it says name and last name, I like to put in, you can see AAAA teacher, AAAA teacher, and that's just so that when I sort it alphabetically, this always comes to the top, and I'll actually drag this so that it stays there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take my responses and we're going to set up the answer key. So all of these here are what I would call identifying questions, right? Email address, name, last name, class period. All of those things are just going to tell you who your students are, who took this assessment. This top row are the questions that go with this assessment. Let's make those blue, maybe a little bit lighter so it's easier to read. And then here is going to be the answer key. So again, you don't have to change the colors. I just find it a little bit visually, a little more visually interesting. Ugh, that is an ugly green. Again, doesn't matter. There we go. Okay, now a better color. Moving on. Okay, so some of these are a little bit more open-ended than others. And just so you know, and just so any enterprising students who might have found this know, I literally just clicked the first answer in the form, and then you'll see later on I just typed answer, because I'm just giving you an example. I'm not actually grading this assessment. So these are not the right answers. Students, you can go away and stop wasting your time. All right, teachers, let's learn how to grade this. Okay, so this is the question. And in this column, I'm going to click on it. I right click and I'm going to insert one right. And then I'm going to say 1 point explain. And that's just summarizing what the question is. And I know it's 1 point. And then here I'm going to type 1. Okay, these ones were multiple choice, so I don't actually have to go in and grade them by hand because it will do that just perfectly. And again, if any students are still here, I literally just clicked the first answer. They are not the correct answers. Okay, now we're back to another section where these are open-ended. And like I said, I just typed the word answer so I can show you how I set this up. So again, we're gonna go click on the whole column. So I clicked on the letter, right click, insert one right. And I just do like 1 point so I know, right, how many points it's worth, or that I know my answer is gonna be 1. And then something to help me identify the question as I'm looking through it later. So class A, and then I'll put 1 here. And when Flubaroo grades it, it's looking to see that the student answers down here match exactly what I have typed here. So when I have a bunch of answers, I'll go click here, or I'll look at their answer here, and then I'll either type in a 1 or I'll leave it blank. So depending on how well they did, they either get a 1 because, yep, they got it right, or I have to leave it blank. Half points and things like that do not work with this. It's an all or nothing kind of thing. I like it really, like for short answers and open-ended, it's great. For anything that's a little bit more nuanced, this isn't ideal, right? It's still a computer. It's still just grading it match or not match, but this is kind of the way around that. So you're going to keep doing this with all of your short answers. Insert one right, 1 point, 1, okay? Okay, so now we have all of our additional columns inserted, right? So 1 point, 1 point, 1 point. I went all the way down and did that just to make you watch it. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure we have Flubaroo installed. So under add-ons, get add-ons. I'm actually doing this on a different account so you can kind of see this whole process. Loading. Oh, it's right here. So if it weren't right here, you would just type in Flubaroo, and then you click on it and install or get, or sometimes they change this button, but click the button to get it. And yes, you may have my permission to use this. That's fine. Yes, there's a lot of things because it does a lot of stuff for you. So I just allow it because it's trustworthy. And now it is adding to my Sheets add-ons. And so just while it's loading, giving you kind of a heads up, what it's going to do is it's going to essentially grade your things for you. And yes, Google Forms now has the quizzes options, but I still actually like Flubaroo a lot better because there's different auto grade options, and this I find much more flexible. So now we have an answer key set up, and I'm going to come back in and I'm going to take it as a student, and I'll give you an example of how I would grade this. Okay, so I just went back and took the form again, pretending to be a student. So once again, if there are any students hanging out, I literally just clicked the first option in the list. So you will find no correct answers here if you're still around somehow. Okay. Alrighty, teachers, here is how I would grade this. So now we've got the questions in the top. My answer key is this kind of ugly cream color. And then my student, you see I said student, is just plain white. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go across and I'm just going to say, okay, does this student get the answer right or not? So if this was my answer, and this is what the student said, right here, if I was cool with what the student said, I would put a 1. So that means that that student gets the point. If the student did not get the point, you can just leave it blank. You can also type a 0 if that's visually easier for you, but all you need to do to make sure they get the point is type the 1. If you type like a 1.0 or a 1.5, something like that, they will not get a 1.5 for this. They'll just get it wrong. So whatever you type here, if you mean for them to get the point, it needs to be the exact same value as what you have here, okay? So then these were all multiple choice, and it's going to automatically grade those for us. Okay, now we're back to student answers. So yep, they matched. Oops, not that one. Sometimes I do this too while I'm actually grading. I deleted the student answer. Okay, student answer, good. Look at them go. Ooh, correct student answer. Oh no, a wrong student answer. No point there. Yep. Oh, look at them answer these questions. Oh, not a good answer. Okay, skipping that one. Boom. All right, so now I, as the teacher, have gone in and either added a point or left it blank for all of their answers. And we're going to go into add-ons, and we're going to go to Flubaroo, and we're going to select grade assignment. Sometimes it runs a little bit slowly here, but that's okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to set up the grading options for each of the questions in the assignment. Flubaroo does try to automatically guess, but sometimes it guesses wrong, so you just need to double check. So identify student just means that it's not going to be graded. It's like, you know, name, class period, that sort of thing. So those identify, yep. Okay, so here's where it gets a little bit tricky. Anything that was an open-ended question, you're going to select skip grading because you only want it to grade where you put in that value, that 1 point thing, okay? So I'm going to skip grading this part, and I'm going to leave this as 1. These were multiple choice questions, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That one they can just grade normally. Oops, 6 of those. Okay, then here we're going to skip grading because then that's the next one that's actually going to be graded. Skip. And this is why I try and make the title of the column something easier to look at. So here you can clearly see there's the question, here's where I put in points. Here's the question, here's where I put in the points. So it's visually easy for you when you get to this step. That's why I do it this way. Skipping this one, Skippity skip, there's the points for that. Skippity skip, there's the points for that. Okay, skipping this one too. Woo, we made it. Okay, so we've got our whole grading system set up. So this is grading step 1. Click continue. Grading step 2, please select which submission should be the answer key. This is typically a submission made by you. Everything else is graded against this, so make sure that they match, right? So this is where I pick the one that says AAA teacher, because it's easy to see in the list. And right now, obviously there's not that many responses on this form, but when you get your whole classes, all of them taking this, this might be quite a long list. So it's nice to make sure that this is sorted to the top. Hit continue. And then this thing will pop up that says Flubaroo grading your assignment. This takes longer, the more responses that you have, because we only have 2, there's not so many. Grading complete. Woohoo! Okay, so a new worksheet called Grades has been created. This contains a grade for each submission and a summary for all the grades at the top. The last row shows you all the things. So it's just kind of giving you some information about what this Flubru spreadsheet looks like. So now down here in the bottom, you have a tab that's the responses, and then a tab that's the grades. And over here, we'll see, okay, there's this many points possible. This is how they did overall, how many people tried, or how many people submitted, sorry, and then how many questions. It gives you a little bit of data here, how many questions scored low. So if you have a low scoring question, you might want to go look at, how it's worded, or maybe it's something that was difficult for your students. It's nice that it gives you that information. And it tells you, right, don't delete stuff in this sheet, leave it. So here, then what you can do is you can see, okay, what time they submitted. These are all the identifying information things that we told Flubru, hey, these questions tell me who this kid is. So they'll all be to the left, and then everything that was an answer gets put on the right after their grade sheet. Okay, so here's the information. Then we see, oh, they got hey, for making up answers, I did a pretty good job. 12 points, and then it gives you the percentage as well, and it also lets you know how many times this person submitted, and an emailed grade. Okay, so we'll come back to this in a second here. And then you can see, okay, now everything that I mark as not graded is going to show up as, okay, not graded, graded, not graded, graded, not graded. You see how that kind of works? So it tells you that that question is still there, but they're all not graded because I told it to skip them. Whereas the column to the right of it, where I put in the points manually, that is actually counting towards the total. Okay. Then where it says emailed grade, Flubru actually does this really nice thing where you can email or like pass back assignments. So there's shared grades. And what you can do is if you collect your email response or your email addresses from your students, you can email their grades to them. So email address question is generally called email address. So you're just going to click that. Okay, grade sharing method. You can share via email, you can share via Google Drive. They will not get an email if you do this, where you can tell them both. If you do send them an email and Drive, they get like a Google Doc report, which is kind of nice. Include list of questions and scores. Let's look at advanced options because this is actually really important here. So include a list of questions and scores. You can decide what your students see. So if this is a practice, sometimes it's nice to give them all of the questions. If this is an assessment, you need to think about, okay, do I want my students to have a digital record of this assessment? If that's okay with you, then that's fine. Like include all your questions or include only questions with correct answers or incorrect answers. In my districts previously, we did not include the questions and scores because they were district assessments and we did not want students to have digital records of them. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then here you can set up your stickers, and I love this. You can put stickers. Well, let's just play with their default. So you can include the sticker at a certain score. So you're going to say, a student got, 80% or higher. I can give them a little sticker that says like, yay. And you can add your own stickers. So I have like Bitmoji stickers of myself being like, woohoo, okay, fantastico, or, something like that. So you can add little fun bonuses. And you can also include a message. So sometimes I might say, keep an eye out in Google Classroom for retake opportunities, or, great work. Thanks for completing this practice. Just a little note. And again, this is optional. So once you've gone through these steps, you can click continue. And it will send, loading. There, see, one grade was successfully shared. And now here you can see it's got a little X. So you have a record that, yep, I passed back this assignment. Okay. So that is how I use Flubru to grade open-ended responses in Google Forms. And I hope that is helpful for you.